this is a very important election. It's going to be a critical year. We must keep the majority in the House and the Senate. So here's two things I do not want to hear. Speaker Kevin McCarthy or Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. And those are real possibilities. The Republican Party is not what it used to be. It's full of extremists who are not interested in governing, and it's a threat to our democratic republic. It's a threat to democracy and to our elections. So we have a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of attention right here in Oregon. I know that there are movements like this across the country for good reason. Here in Oregon, we have our new seat, the 6th Congressional District. There are many candidates running for that. And then our 4th district with Congressman Peter DeFazio retiring. Both of those districts tilt Democratic, but they're going to be very competitive. And I assure you that the Republicans are looking at both of those, and they're going to do everything they can to try to flip those to Republican. The 5th district, the 5th Congressional District, is also going to be more competitive, only a very slight Democratic advantage after picking up more central Oregon. So we have our work cut out for us. It can be done, and your work is going to make a big difference. So the outlook for 2020, I know we're maintaining optimism, and hard work is going to get us there. But the party in power in the White House usually loses seats in the midterm. So we're going to have to buck history there. And also, we've been tracking redistricting nationally. Many states have now completed their maps, but some have not. We've had some setbacks on looking what happened with Alabama and some other states, but also some positive outcomes. So it's going to come down to a few things. Democrats getting their message out there and being able to point to specific accomplishments about making people's lives better. It's been a really tough couple of years, and people are looking for that hope that their life is going to become better. So you mentioned, Catherine, in your introductory remarks, we passed the CARES Act early on in the pandemic, but the American Rescue Plan was really critical, getting shots in arms and dollars in people's pockets, and the ramping up the vaccines and PPE distribution. Very, very important legislation. And then the infrastructure bill. I remind you that in the previous administration, those 4 very long years, there were a lot of conversations about infrastructure. But there were conversations. We had infrastructure week and another infrastructure week and an infrastructure day, but nothing got done. But in the Biden-Harris administration, we passed this very critical infrastructure bill that is going to fund jobs in Oregon and across the country and do critical upgrades, not just to roads and highways and bridges and ports and airports, but it's the largest investment in public transit and rail in our nation's history, more electric vehicle infrastructure and zero and low emissions bus fleets, removing lead pipes from water systems. That is critical as well for public health, millions of dollars for clean water right here in Oregon, and a major expansion of broadband, which was one of those several inequities that were highlighted during the pandemic. So turnout's going to be really essential. We make it easy in Oregon. We are the model for making it easy to turn out to vote. But in other states, they're making it harder. Look what's happening in Texas. One of the states where they pass these new voter restrictions. They're rejecting a really high percentage of the ballots that are coming in. Somewhere between, the article I just saw was between 25 and 40% of ballots are being rejected. So we're going to have to push back on all these voter suppression efforts and do all we can. So it's a tough road ahead, but I'm hopeful. And that's why it's so important that you're all out here working hard and making a difference. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to meeting with you in person sometime soon, I hope, and campaigning together to elect Democrats in Oregon and across the country. So I think there's probably some questions in the chat. Am I going to read those from the chat, or is somebody going to read those?
No, we're gathering them for you, and we'll ask the question for you. Thank you so much for that. What is the most important thing we can do as citizens right now?
Well, the most important thing you can do is to stay engaged and informed. And you are doing that by being here today. You know, a lot of places around Oregon, it's sunny right now, and you're choosing to be here because this is so important for our future. So stay engaged, stay in contact, do everything you can to make sure that every voter turns out on election day. And that's important for the primary as well as for the primaries as well as for the general election. November's going to be here before we know it. So stay involved, stay engaged, keep communicating about all that Democrats have done and will continue to do. The mention that Catherine made about cutting child poverty, that was the expansion of the child tax credit. It made a tremendous difference in the lives of working families. We need to get that over the finish line to extend it and make it permanent. That's going to take Democrats being in the majority. Everything we're doing on climate, it's going to take Democrats being in the majority. So keep involved, stay involved, and encourage everyone you know to if they're not registered to vote, register to vote. Make sure you're voting in the primary and the general election. And talk to your friends and family and neighbors in other states as well.
Representative, a question, if I may jump in, Don, relative to infrastructure. And can you speak to anything, the specific issues that affect Oregonians with that bill and what's going to happen here in our own state relative to the infrastructure bill?
Well, the infrastructure bill, as I mentioned, has dollars for getting lead out of pipes, about 92 million. It has money for roads, bridges, broadband. Those are all dollars that are going to come to Oregon. As someone who represents the port and the coast, I know that ports and levees and jetties are all really critical infrastructure. So it's also a lot of jobs. And one of the things I want to mention as well is I talked about the importance of workforce. We need people to do those jobs, to do those great union jobs, building our infrastructure. And so we need to have a path to get them into those jobs. And one of the things that's important too is to make those opportunities available to people historically left behind, primarily women and people of color. So we're working on diversifying that workforce and making sure that people have a path to help get those good jobs that are going to come, not only from the infrastructure bill, but as we transition to a clean energy economy as well. Lots of great jobs out there. That's all part of the infrastructure bill. And I'm working on more workforce funding as well to help fill that need.
Here's another question. What can we do about expanding voting rights elsewhere since Oregon has it down?
Well, as I mentioned, make sure that you're talking with people you know, friends, family, voters you can connect with in other states. And we can hold up Oregon as a model. We have a safe and secure system of getting everyone's vote safely and securely counted. And so we need to make sure that we're getting that message across. And as you know, it hasn't just been our Democratic secretaries of state. We had 2 Republican secretaries of state who both spoke positively about our safe and secure vote by mail system. So holding up Oregon as a model, it is safe, it's secure, and we need to send a message that there is a system that works. Also countering all the misinformation and disinformation out there about voter fraud, which we saw, of course, following the previous administration and their attempt to overturn the election. So getting factual information out about our great system here in Oregon, how it's been supported by secretaries of state on both sides of the aisle, and it really works. And then just encourage others, you know, get in touch with people in other states, talk about how this is a great system, and tell stories about how it helps people.
That misinformation is still out there. So I think you're right. It's key to talk to people, you know, help them to understand what's right and what's wrong.